This is Battling Bill Weaver, the Solid Rock Championship Wrestling Hall of Famer, and you're watching 5-Star Jobbers.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the 5-Star Jobbers podcast. I'm Cody.
And I am so glad that my new head coach is not Kalen DeBoer.
Oh, gosh.
What a hire.
Yeah. That's
the greatest coach in the last 50 years of college football, replaced with a Pac-12, Pac-10. I don't even know what the number is, but a Pac coach.
I can't even keep up with it
anymore. And you guys have lost how many 5- and 4-star recruits in the last week?
I've lost track of it.
That's a solid recruiting show right there.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for watching. Those of you that have been watching on YouTube, our second video episode of the year. We're excited to get more video content to you guys. But first of all, thank you to all of our listeners. Thank you to everyone that's subscribed. Go and follow us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? What are you missing? You're missing out on a lot.
Did somebody hurt you when you were little?
I don't know what's going on, but I mean, if you need to talk,
don't talk to us.
Yeah, don't talk to us.
Just listen to the podcast. That's not hard to do. You just press a button and then you sit.
Exactly. And you get to listen to our angelic voices.
I have a velvety tone. You don't know how good looking my mom tells me I am.
That's debatable.
Yeah, she doesn't actually say that.
Yeah, anyway. So, we wanted to get into the season of Royal Rumble because it's around the corner and there's a lot of excitement that's surrounding this event. But one of the things we wanted to do, because it's been a while since we've done this, we wanted to do another top 10 segment on the podcast. And so what we wanted to do, we thought about different things we could do with this in the season of the Royal Rumble, but I think the best one to do is Surprise Entrants. Because, actually going back and looking at this, they didn't really start surprising people, per se, until around like the late 90s or early 2000s. I don't know if that was different from what your research and what you found on your list. But
well, I would definitely say that the surprise entrant, I would actually make the argument that kind of came around a little more in the last 10 or so years. I mean, really, with true surprise entrants. I mean, obviously, you had some people returning from injury and things like that happened in the Attitude Era and the early, years of the Ruthless Aggression era. But but the early, the first 10 Royal Rumbles, I wouldn't say in those first 10 that there was, any major surprises. I mean, for the most part, everybody that was there was already on the roster. Right. They didn't really debut new people, but you'd still have a lot of interesting things that would happen to during the course of the match. And a lot of WrestleMania matches are set up during the Royal Rumble itself, and so it's just one of those really important matches. It's on the it kicks off the road to WrestleMania, and so since its inception, it's been used to basically either let the fans know who the company is going to focus on in the coming year, set up for the WrestleMania match. I mean, I can't remember when that actually became the official purpose of the Royal Rumble, because when it first came out, it was just a
match.
It was just a huge battle royal. And then after the first couple of years, there was a Royal Rumble that led to the crowning of the new WWF champion. And then I want to say a couple of years after that, very, very quickly, it became the winner of the Royal Rumble would go on to main event WrestleMania. And, the Royal Rumble's been around for quite some time, but the list of elite wrestlers who have actually won a Rumble is surprisingly smaller. It's smaller than you think it would, because there's a lot of guys who have won it multiple times.
Right. You got Stone Cold Steve Austin. Shawn Michaels.
John Cena. Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Randy Orton, I think, has won it more than once.
Randy Orton. Did The Rock win it at one point? Or am I just imagining
I think The Rock won once.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some others that we're forgetting along the way. But, it's like we just said. It's that match that catapults us towards the road to WrestleMania. And so with that, we thought that we would do this segment where we give our list of our top 10 surprise entrants that maybe it's like we said, people that have come back from injury that surprised us all, or somebody that just showed up in the Royal Rumble that you were not expecting to see at all.
Yeah, or debuts, First time that you ever see a wrestler in WWE.
Exactly. So, if you have a top 10 of surprise entrants from the Royal Rumble, let us know in the comments. Let us know on social media. Give us your list. And so, we're going to start off here with number 10 on our list. Do you want to start it off, or do you want me to? I can't remember who started it off the last time.
I'm going to go first just because I'm better.
Okay. Whatever.
So I'm going to go with an entry that I think would be higher on this list, but it was just kind of snake bit by time. And that one is the return of one Christian. And I want to say, what was that, the 2021 Royal Rumble? So this was a Royal Rumble that was in front of nobody. This Royal Rumble was, in an empty arena with screens and everything like that. So there was the appearance of fans, and yes, there were people watching it and everything.
The Thunderdome, as they called it.
But yeah, the actual event itself took place in an empty stadium. So it loses its the importance of the return itself. And this was kind of a one-off for Christian too, because he came and we were all expecting that was going to be Christian coming back to WWE and that he was going to get a contract and wrestle, but he ended up being on this Royal Rumble. And I want to say in just a couple months after that, he debuts with AEW,
right?
Under his current moniker, Christian Cage, which is the moniker that he uses when he's not in WWE. And that was the kickoff to get us where we are now with the modern Christian Cage character and everything that's going on with Christian and Adam Copeland. So I think it was a really important return. It was a big surprise. I mean, you had Edge the year before, and then you have Christian the year after. I mean, it was, I don't know about you, but I was really hoping they were going to sign and that they were going to have the return of the ENC, but such was not the case. But now we have both those guys in AEW, so just goes to show anything can happen in pro wrestling.
Yeah, it's going to happen at some point. We will see ENC reunite, and then
I need 5 seconds of flash photography.
Don't we all?
All right,
those that are just listening, you didn't get to see the magic of the.
Which is why you got to go on the YouTube. You're only getting half the story if you're listening. Now the podcast is great. We're not going to shake it, but you got to be watching this on YouTube. I mean, there's a lot of beauty you're missing out on.
Exactly.
And then I don't know what Cody brings to the table.
Whatever. But anyway, so my number 10. I go back or I guess go back, feels a little older to me, but 2013 Royal Rumble, first entrant, one of the first entrants, Chris Jericho.
Oh, okay.
Dolph Ziggler comes out on the mic, of course, talking trash and all that he was known for during that time. And you see Chris Jericho come back. I think it was from injury, or I don't know. No, it wasn't from injury.
It wasn't from injury because I'll just go ahead and leak since you just said this. That was my number 9.
Okay.
The return of Chris Jericho in 2013 is after he got off of the Fozzy tour.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that. But Chris Jericho comes out, of course, with the bright light jacket, as we like to call it. And
that thing was awesome.
Oh yeah,
that thing gets a lot of hate, but I loved that thing.
Exactly. Like I know a lot of people will hate on it and think it's the goofiest looking thing, but. It
was better than the scarf.
Oh, yes. 1,000 times better than the scarf. No offense to MJF. Love the Burberry scarf.
The Burberry, that's a different kind of scarf. That's apples and oranges.
Yeah, that's true. But no, the light-up jacket that Chris Jericho had was probably one of my favorite ring attire things that he always brought to the ring.
Oh, absolutely.
But 2013 Chris Jericho was number 10 on my list, and then you had that on your number 9, so I'll go ahead and go with my number 9. Mine was, we go back to 1998 Royal Rumble for this one. This one, for me, is the Three Faces of Foley. And so, for those of you that haven't seen the Royal Rumble for 1998, of course, you have Mick Foley go into the Royal Rumble first as Cactus Jack. So then he gets eliminated. And
you put this at 8?
No, 9.
You put this at 9?
Hey, we're allowed to have a difference of opinion here. That's the joy of professional wrestling.
If we slept in the same house, you'd have a turd in your pillowcase tonight. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank God we don't live in the same house then. But anyway, the Three Faces of Foley, as I was trying to say before I was so rudely interrupted, you had Cactus Jack enter first of the Three Faces of Foley. Then he gets eliminated. So then some time goes by, a few entrances come in. Then you see, I think it was Dude Love. And then Dude Love gets eliminated. Then you see Foley come back in as Mankind. So it was one of those where like, it's Mick Foley, but it was fun to see all three personas be showcased in the Royal Rumble. I don't see how you're still seething right now.
The only man to ever wrestle in the Royal Rumble in 3 different characters, and you're going to put this at 9.
Trust me, once you see my top ones, you'll be okay with it.
I've pitched a really great top one before and disappointed many. So I think you're going to be on that same track here.
We'll see. Anyway, number 8.
Overpromise, under-delivering.
What have you got here?
Well, so for number 8, I have Keith Lee.
Ooh.
Keith Lee was running NXT at the time when he debuted at the 2019 or 2020 Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And would eventually, he showed very, very well in the Rumble. I think, who was it? I can't remember who actually got him out, but I want to say it was like Lesnar.
Yeah, it was Lesnar, because at that point, I think Braun Strowman came in as well.
Yep.
And so you got the 3 big behemoths going at each other, but then
there was a lot of big meat bumping.
There's a lot of
which is Cody's favorite thing.
Shut up.
So
I think Braun Strowman and Keith Lee were going at it, and then Lesnar eliminated both of them simultaneously.
Were you just sweating profusely with joy?
Maybe.
Yeah,
who wouldn't?
I know I was.
Anyway, Keith Lee is definitely one of the surprises. Of course, the big surprise in that match was Drew McIntyre eliminating Lesnar after Ricochet gave him a low blow, which Drew McIntyre winning the Rumble was probably the best thing that could have happened for him during that time.
Oh, it was a fantastic win, and had the world not shut down just a couple months later, it would have been a fantastic WrestleMania moment. And then, of course, we continue to hear the story now when Drew talks about winning the world title in front of nobody,
right?
Because he wins this Royal Rumble, and then just a few months later, what was supposed to be a WrestleMania at in Tampa Bay,
right?
I'm blank. The Raymond James Stadium. They end up, instead having to, make some magic happen, which they
still made do
with all
with
things
what they
considered.
had.
They killed WrestleMania that year. I mean, the world shut down, and WWE still put out a quality WrestleMania product.
Definitely.
And that's one of the things you just got to absolutely love about professional wrestling is the ingenuity. And everything else shuts down, professional wrestling did not shut down.
And that's the one thing I'll give a lot of props to WWE and AEW, because, wrestling fans and the wrestling community in general, we were all nervous about what was going to happen during that time, because
March Madness shut down.
Yeah. And so we were hopeful that something would come to fruition, or they would have something for us to be able to enjoy instead of going back and watching highlights or doing something like that.
We didn't miss a beat.
No, they kept the show going, and major round of applause to WWE and AEW for just keeping everything going for wrestling fans and putting something together, so that way, even though some may be in quarantine or we were all stuck in our houses during that time, big thank you to all of them for just being able to provide something for us that we could enjoy, even though we weren't able to enjoy it in person like we had before.
But so Keith Lee in the Royal Rumble, that's about as far as Keith Lee's WWE run goes.
Right.
That I would call a success.
Yeah, I agree.
Because then later on, Vince would have the great idea to rename him the Bearcat. And it was all downhill from there.
I don't know if you'd call it a great idea, but it was an idea nonetheless.
I can't say bad words on the YouTube or else you get mad at me.
Yeah. I'm trying to keep it PG because I don't know how to work the censor yet.
When you do.
Oh, I know. Trust me. I won't let you know when I do. That's for sure.
You're going to be like one of those virtuosic piano players just
pressing the keys and having it at the ready.
I can't wait.
Oh, yeah. I know you can't. My number 8... I go to 2011 Royal Rumble with this one, and the surprise entrant on my number 8 list is Big Daddy Cool Diesel. Now, granted, I didn't know who Diesel was at the time because I'd only know the name Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
I didn't know at the time, like back in the early 90s or so, that he went by Diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And so after seeing who it was and realizing, oh, that's Kevin Nash, it's like, oh, okay. Cool. And so
it was 2 surprises.
It was 2 surprises, 2 in 1. I was surprised that it was Kevin Nash, and surprised that I found out his first name was Diesel.
Yep.
or his first character was Diesel.
Well, technically, his first character was Oz.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, first it was Oz,
and then Vinny
we go to
Vegas,
Diesel,
and then Big Sexy Kevin Nash. Yep. Yeah, he's had quite a few monikers over the course of his career.
Yeah. Who you got for number 7?
Number 7, I've got Adam Cole, and I believe it's the
Bebe.
Yeah, it's the same Royal Rumble. It was the 2020 Royal Rumble, and at that time, once again, Adam Cole was doing fantastic things in NXT. We had just come out of the NXT or the Survivor Series, where NXT was an actual full-on brand.
Yeah.
And so, the NXT guys weren't just being used in the Royal Rumble as like easy eliminations. So,
like they were legitimate competition to these guys.
Yeah, they were legit competition.
Or booked as legitimate competition.
I mean, Adam Cole Adam Cole beat Daniel Bryan on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Who was at the time the reigning WWE champion. So it was one of those times where it was really exciting for NXT, of course, before Vince once again got a hold of it, foobarred it, and, gave me another reason to continue seeing a therapist. But Adam Cole, what really got me for this one, really not just the role, but the pop.
Yeah.
Any time that I hear Vince McMahon talk about, the fans don't know who they are because they're not on the main roster product. You go back and watch Adam Cole's entry into the Royal Rumble and tell me that not every fan that was in that arena was on their feet cheering Adam Cole, baby.
Exactly.
Like,
that just goes to show how little Vince McMahon knows or thinks that he knows about the talent that he brings in to WWE.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I've said it before, Vince likes to take a character who was over somewhere else, take away that character entirely, tie their hands behind their back, tell them to swim in the ocean, and if they can, tread water, then maybe he won't make them drown, or maybe he'll just go ahead and tie a cinder block to their foot. Depends on how he feels that day.
Exactly. My number 7, I'm staying in 2011 Royal Rumble for this one, and I'm going to go with Booker T. Strictly based on the pop that he got, because this is whenever you had both the factions, the Core and the new Nexus.
That was a pretty crappy time in wrestling, if I don't say so myself.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, just the pop that Booker T got whenever I think the new Nexus was in the ring, because that's when you had CM Punk in charge of the group.
Yeah,
and
this was before the Summer of Punk. This is
right.
I kind of almost consider that a reset for WWE.
Yeah,
because before the Summer of Punk, before the pipe bomb, you had just a slew of garbage.
Yes.
That they were throwing at you every week, and it was so bad I had to resort to only watching TNA.
Right.
But there was also Ring of Honor that I'm very thankful for at the time, because if it wasn't for Ring of Honor and TNA at that time, I would have had to watch the Core and Nexus. And, I just don't think that my fragile mind could have handled that much crappy booking.
Same. Yeah, because I think during that time, TNA was... I don't want to say it was the best time, but it was definitely a better product than what WWE was putting out at the time.
It was creative, not so great, but actual wrestling and creativity, like the allowance of creativity.
Right.
Before they really kicked it in gear, brought in the Brother Man, and tried to be WWE light, they were doing a much better product. But yeah, this would see, let's say that Royal Rumble kind of was the kickoff of a lot of the talent that had gone over to TNA jumping ship, and we would continue to see that over the next couple of years. And let's say the TNA product itself would decline as well. There was a lot of bad booking, a lot of bad creative, a lot of bad things that went, that took the product from being, probably what you would call its height since it was created in 2002. And it didn't get to stay up there very long.
Right.
But that Booker T pop, that was a good pop in the 2011, and that was the same one as Kevin Nash, Diesel, and they both were coming back from runs in TNA.
Yeah.
Where they were in the main event Mafia together.
Good old main event Mafia. Who you got for number 6?
So for number 6, I have the return of Bubba Ray Dudley in 2015.
That was a good one.
And he was one of the stalwarts. He was one of the holdouts of TNA. And, when him and AJ left, it was pretty much, I think anybody who was watching the TNA product at the time knew, okay, there's pretty much going to have to be a complete reset here. Some of your best stars have left. and you don't really have anything going for you. And this, when Bubba Ray showed up, it was a huge pop. I mean, everybody was happy to see him there, and it was also kind of a, like I said, it let you know, if you're a multi-promotion watcher like I am, it let me know, okay, WWE is getting all this talent back. TNA is kind of on its way out. WWE is the product that I kind of got to settle into.
Right.
But 2015, that wasn't a bad time. Hunter had been working great things with NXT, and there were some absolutely fantastic matches in 2015 between the NXT takeovers and even some of the main product.
Absolutely. My number 6, I go to 2018 Royal Rumble for this one, and mine is Rey Mysterio. You see the return of Rey Mysterio, and then his career kind of sailing off into the sunset, per se. Getting that last ride in. I think this is the time when him and Dominic were about to team together.
Yes.
And so seeing that pop from Rey Mysterio at number 27, I think is what number he came in. But it kind of had just a little bit of shock value just because I wasn't really expecting it. But.
No, I thought Ray was done with the WWE. I mean, he had a long career. I mean, between WCW and WWE. You tell me that he debuted in 2018 again in the Royal Rumble and that he'd still be going today.
I never would have thought so.
I wouldn't have believed it. I mean, that guy has some of the best longevity of any. I mean, and you look at his career.
I mean, he's been doing this for since he was a kid.
Well, not just doing it. I mean, he is one of the pioneers of bringing the cruiserweight style to the American professional wrestling. Fandom, and you go back and watch his matches. It's not like he wrestled safe.
No,
the fact he was in,
and you can whenever you wrestle that kind of style. Like lucha libre is not safe at all. It's a lot of high flying, a lot of death defying action, and it has a much higher risk than just regular ground and pound. That I would say.
Yeah, tell me that you believe that someone can fake a jump off a 10-foot scaffold, go through a table and land on the floor, and that it's fake. Tell me that you believe that, and I've got some great things to sell you.
Exactly. But yeah, that's my number 6. Now we get into the top 5. Who you got, John?
All right, so the top 5, I give respect to veterans, and I put Diesel's return at the Royal Rumble at number 5. The return of Kevin Nash after about an 8-year hiatus.
Roughly.
After the failed NWO revival.
Yeah.
And, a pretty decent run in TNA and Impact Wrestling. He was with that product for many years, and so when he left, you talk about a guy who's had a long, successful career. You think, okay, well, he's done. He's ready to live in his Detroit mansion and enjoy the rest of his time on this earth. And no, he comes out and debuts as Big Daddy Cool Diesel. So for the 7-year-old me who that was watching that was a great moment because I hadn't seen Diesel since 1995.
Right. See, that's what I'm saying. We both have a difference of opinion here. We both had a different reaction, and that's the great thing about this.
Yeah, one's right, one's wrong.
Whatever.
And I don't know where you fall on those two. But Diesel returning was absolutely fantastic. And then of course the kickoff. That kicks off the storyline with Triple H and Kev and the Click versus CM Punk, and I loved that storyline. I thought it was fantastic. I'm a mark for any Click storylines.
Of course you are.
It's the greatest faction in the history of professional wrestling. They're responsible for, honestly,
I'm not going to argue with you. You're 100% right.
Name any faction that's more that's more influential and has sold more merch than the Click.
I can't think of anybody right now.
That's DX and the NWO. The Four Horsemen can't even beat that.
No, they can't. So my number 5, it's kind of apropos you talk about the Click because mine goes to the 2016 Royal Rumble, where you see the number 30 entrant, Triple H. Where Roman Reigns had to defend the world title against all 29 superstars in the Royal Rumble. And there were some surprises along the way, and I'll get into that in my
This was the one where, the title was on the line. Yeah. And, the Triple H. This was the one where Roman gets eliminated well before the finals, right?
So he gets injured quote unquote injured in the match, and so they carried him off into the back.
But this is the one where the crowd really lets the world know how big of a fan they are of Dean Ambrose.
Exactly.
So much so that he would end up. I don't think that was originally planned, but like the pop that the crowd had when it was just Triple H and Dean Ambrose left,
was insane.
And they wanted Ambrose to win that title that night. And obviously, it wasn't in the stars; it wasn't written down. But I honestly, that reaction ended up getting him a title match the very next month, and would eventually get a title run. Granted, it wasn't a great title run,
right?
But that was one of those moments where you could have been deaf. You could have been deaf and blind. And you could have felt the crowd behind Dean Ambrose in that match. That was a fantastic wrestling. Yeah, so I'll give it to you. That's a good one.
See, I told you it gets better. But anyway, number 4, who you got?
So number 4, once again, with respect to legends, the Three Faces of Foley is my number 4.
Okay,
because the guy wrestled in 3 different characters in one match, like. Respect for the ability to get out of one's pants and into another pair of pants quickly. I mean, sometimes it takes me 30 minutes just to get into one pair of pants. Back in high school, it took me months to get into one pair of pants. But that's another story. All right, but the Three Faces of Foley, Cactus Jack, the greatest iteration in my personal opinion.
Agreed.
Dude Love, I mean, haven't we all done the Charleston in front of a mirror?
I've lost count of how many times.
Yep, and and Mankind, who is what was it? The Three Faces of Foley came out. Was it 90? I can't remember if it was 98 or it was 98.
It was 98.
And then the very next year, Mankind would be the world heavyweight champion.
Right.
At Royal Rumble, facing The Rock in an I Quit match, which is still to this day the greatest I Quit match of all time.
No question.
So, Three Faces of Foley, there will never be another Mick Foley. There will never be another professional wrestler who is so cued in to the business, to the fan base, that he can literally create 3 different characters, 2 of his own mentality, and 1 having to do cleanup duty for Vince McMahon's crap character creation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. My number 4, I go to the 2010 Royal Rumble, specifically because I actually got to go to this one.
Nice.
I don't remember exactly where it was, but I remember I went with my dad and my uncle because I think my uncle got tickets for it. But 2010 Royal Rumble, it was the number 30 entrant, the Rated R superstar, Edge.
That's awesome.
Because it was talked about, and I think this was at the point whenever Chris Jericho either dumped Edge, because they were a tag team at one point, and you see him return. I leapt out of my seat and screamed at the top of my lungs. I just remember just the feeling of hearing that music go off where he goes, "You think you know me?" And then everybody just absolutely lost their minds.
Yeah, that was a good one. My number 3 is so I don't necessarily say this was not a surprise, but just once again the pop. But the return of Cody Rhodes after the torn pectoral.
Okay.
I mean, first of all, how quickly he was able to rehab and get back into ring shape for that return. I mean,
a lot of respect.
We weren't expecting to see Cody until WrestleMania or after, based on the original prognosis after he tore his pec and then wrestled with it the next night in a Hell in a Cell match. But for him to be able to make the return that quick it just shows his commitment and love of the business.
I mean, anybody that knows Cody Rhodes knows that he was not about to let this injury keep him out of his chances of making it to the Royal Rumble and being on the road to WrestleMania to eventually face Roman Reigns for the title. But yeah, just kudos to Cody Rhodes and his work ethic and how much he loves this business and how much he wants to get back in there and give the fans what they wanted.
Oh yeah, and I think that's this was he returns. He comes back from AEW, and I think there was a good amount of fanfare. Like, people were excited to see Cody Rhodes, but truthfully, I feel like the pop for Cody at the Royal Rumble was better than the pop for Cody at WrestleMania the year before against Seth Rollins.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, I feel like the fans were more behind Cody at the Royal Rumble than they were when he returned at WrestleMania. You know, they liked him. They were excited to see him. They thought this is a huge. I think it was like, this is a huge win for WWE over AEW. I think that's the mentality of that return.
Yeah.
But when he returns in the Royal Rumble, he's their guy.
Yeah.
He's not the AEW guy that came over to WWE. He is Cody Rhodes. His whole story gets encompassed now. It's like, okay, they did a really good job of telling his story while he was out and creating the story that we're waiting for him to finish now.
Right.
And when he debuts to the Royal Rumble, he is, like I said, they're not just cheering because an AEW guy came to WWE. They're cheering because their champion is now what we thought was on the road to taking the title at WrestleMania.
Right.
It wouldn't be that way, but we didn't know that then, so we cheered with all the fervor that we had to cheer with.
Exactly. My number 3, I go to the 2008 Royal Rumble, of course, the number 30 entrant for this one, John Cena. The pop, solely based on the pop for this one, because you see the fans lose it in Madison Square Garden. This is probably one of my favorite Royal Rumble matches to date, just because of the just variety that was in this match. Of course, you had young talent like early Cody Rhodes in this match, and then of course CM Punk with the original or the first entrance music that he had. But also you had
Killswitch Engaged.
Yeah, Killswitch Engaged. Then you had Jimmy Snuka and Roddy Piper just show up to reignite their old rivalry that they had. And if anybody has seen the story or heard the story that Cody Rhodes tells about this, whenever he's in the match and gets to see them go at it, go back and watch. I think it's Inside the Ropes.
This is the one where he decides that he's going to hit the Undertaker the minute he gets
exactly. And, it's the same match, and which I love the story. It's
a great story, and it speaks to the veteran wisdom, and then just how good of a dude Mark Calloway, the Undertaker, is.
Exactly.
And how important it is to him to get young talent over.
Right. But
so
the Roddy Piper and Jimmy Snuka story, I'll just give it to you in a short amount of words, but. Basically, Piper gets up on the ring apron, Snuka's in the ring, and you can kind of see him mouthing the words, Roddy Piper mouthing, "You mother," and you can see in the slight corner of the camera, Cody and Punk are like dying laughing seeing this happen. So I encourage you to go back and watch the Rumble and listen to Cody tell this story because it's funny. But sorry, we got sidetracked there. But yeah, John Cena. Yeah,
you got a hamster in your pocket?
Maybe.
You got sidetracked.
Anyway, John Cena, 2008 Royal Rumble entrant number 30. The pop that the crowd gave for this entrant was absolutely insane. I remember watching this Royal Rumble and giving the same reaction as well. Like, it was one of those where it was like you weren't expecting it, but people were kind of wondering if it was actually going to happen. And when it did, everybody just lost their minds.
Yeah, and I'll say at this time I was not a John Cena fan, but I did respect this the pop that comes from this. Just to give a little context for the people who may not have watched the product during the time, but this was one of the rare Cena injury returns.
Yeah.
For the length of his career, he did pretty well to stay healthy. Not too many long injury breaks. And this was not a long injury break. This was expected to be a long injury break. And what was expected to be like 8 or 9 months, he ended up rehabbing. And what was this, like a 3-month return?
Yeah, at least like 3 or 4 months.
Like the pop came from the fact that he should not have returned this quick. But the fact that he did, once again, you can't, whether you like the character or you dislike having the character pushed down your throat day in and day out like Cena was, no, I couldn't do anything but respect John Cena in that moment, because he, when someone shows their love for the business, you got to appreciate that.
Exactly. All right, now we get into number 2. What you got?
All right, so my number 2 is the return of the Rated R superstar in 2020 from his career-ending, injury,
right?
With what is it, spinal stenosis?
Yeah,
and the thought that we'd never see Edge in a ring ever again, and sure enough, the minute I heard "You Think You Know Me,"
yeah,
I mean, I was sitting in my chair. I popped out of my chair on my feet.
I'm going to spoil it for you because that's my number one.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic.
That's number one for me, no doubt, because I remember watching his retirement speech live on Monday Night Raw, and I'm not ashamed to say it, like, there were tears going down my face because...
How could there not be? Exactly.
It's like one of those where it's like you never would have expected it. And it's like, whether you love Edge or hate Edge, the character, you couldn't help but hate to see him go or hate to see him leave under those circumstances.
Yeah, when you're forced to leave something that you're not ready to leave at, or that you're like at the pinnacle of your body's prime for where you're at, and he had worked to get to being there, but the work that he did to get where he got eliminated him from being there for a long period of time.
Exactly.
It reminds me, it's been very cool over the past couple of years, with advances and, medical treatment and PT, physical training and things like that. How many people who were told you can never get in the ring ever, ever, ever again that have been able to make, whether it be long returns or just one-off returns. Like I remember when I got the ESPN alert on my phone saying that Daniel Bryan was medically cleared to return.
It was amazing.
And, let's say that feeling, I had that same exact feeling when I heard the music and saw Edge, and you can just see him come into the crowd.
And he's already, you can see on his face, he is super emotional.
Yeah.
Like just overwhelmed with the reaction that he got from the crowd. And rightfully so. I mean, this guy's been gone for so long.
And you think about how much work, money, everything that they put in to make that return to the thing that they love. And yeah, whether you liked Edge before or not, you couldn't help but cheer for Adam Copeland in that moment.
Exactly.
Same thing with Daniel Bryan. And it's like, say what you will about WWE's booking of those guys after they came back. I don't care. The fact that they came back, that's what I care about. And, those moments like that, a lot of matches you'll forget. Some of my favorite matches, Dave Meltzer 5-star matches that I've already forgotten. That's a moment I will not forget.
Ever.
No.
Yeah.
So I guess I get the last one number one because I stole yours.
Yeah.
But,
I think this is actually going to be my number two as well. So.
Okay, so I guess we'll just go ahead and AJ Styles.
Yep, definitely.
Yep, AJ Styles. So
same Royal Rumble with Triple H 2016 when the title was on the line.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things that made this such a cool moment because you're like, could AJ Styles win the world title tonight?
I know,
but
right?
When he debuted, first of all, he debuts to original WWE music, which does not sound anything like AJ Styles music. Like,
right.
Throughout his career in TNA, it was "Get Ready to Fly."
Exactly. Anytime you heard that, you were like, "Oh boy, it's about to get real right now."
And so at first you hear this music and you're like, "I don't recognize this. I have no idea who this is going to be."
Yeah, we all get the same face that Roman did, kind of like squinting our eyes, like, "What is this?"
But then you see him walk out with the hood, and he doesn't.
Well, and also you see on the Titantron where it says "I am phenomenal," and the entire arena and everybody watching this just goes buck wild.
And this is the reason I put this one before Edge, because and maybe I'm wrong, but that moment to me was so gratifying because I grew up on WWF, and I grew up on WWF, and then there was WCW, and I watched WWF beat WCW and WCW go away, and then I watched the thing that I love slowly lose a lot of what I loved about it.
Yeah.
And I drifted away from the WWF product because it was no longer, it was not the product that I loved anymore. And that's when I discovered TNA.
Right.
And I was watching TNA back when they were on when you had to buy episodes on the Apple iStore.
Yeah.
And so I was really into the early iteration of TNA, and one of my favorite new stars was the phenomenal AJ Styles, and the things that he was doing, in matches against Samoa Joe and Christopher Daniels,
Frankie Kazarian.
I mean, just the Ultimate X matches, everything that he had done, and then as his character eventually becomes a main event status. And then the story they tell with him as he's leaving TNA, because he's leaving TNA for the same reason that the fans are leaving TNA. So it was very, very personal.
Yeah.
The character of AJ Styles is very personal. And then he goes over to New Japan and then becomes the new leader of the Bullet Club.
Right.
And I really honestly, I did not know a whole lot about the Bullet Club until AJ Styles. I knew that there was this thing called the Bullet Club. I knew that it was the accumulation of Gaijin, which is non-Japanese wrestlers. And so it kind of had like an NWO feel.
Right.
And so, I was kind of like, yeah, this sounds like a cool concept, but I've already seen it. I'm not in. And then when AJ goes there, and so I start watching online, I'm like, no, this is awesome. This is very, very cool.
That was actually my first introduction to New Japan Pro Wrestling, believe it or not. And so, because I didn't know that there was any wrestling outside of America at that point.
So I'm watching this and I'm thinking, like, man, AJ Styles is just like, he's the best thing in professional wrestling at the time. And I keep having this thing in the back of my head, like, man, I'd love to see him in WWE. But I think, no, he would get ruined in WWE.
Right.
He has no chance in WWE. The fans won't know who he is in WWE, and Vince will bury him in WWE. So when he shows up and the fans pop like he's Austin, Rock, Hogan, any other person that has at one point had the moniker of the best wrestler ever, or the biggest attraction.
Right.
When they reacted for him, it was like, I'm not the only one.
Right.
I'm not alone. We all want the product to be better. We all have been watching everything. And that's not, necessarily true. There's a lot of people who are still just WWE product people. And then there are people who don't watch WWE at all. Like, they think it's a point of pride to not watch anything. At the end of the day, professional wrestling is ice cream, and the more you have, the better it is.
Exactly.
Some things don't mix well, but other things, just the more you watch and the more you get. But this was one of those moments where it was like, this was not a Vince, and you knew this was not a Vince thing.
No, this was not.
This, and it was the begin. To me, it was the beginning of the end of the old WWE ways. And that's when I got really excited for after Punk, the summer of Punk, and then Punk leaves. It's like, man, I really have, like, if it wasn't for NXT, I don't think I would have watched the product at all.
Yeah,
between that time. But then when AJ Styles comes back, it's like, I don't know. There's something that's telling me this product's going to get better. And even though there's been a lot of pitfalls and there's been a lot of hurdles, I still genuinely have that feeling, like, especially now with Triple H behind the helm and with Vince gone and with nothing to do with the product and Kevin Dunn gone, the product has the opportunity to become great again.
Absolutely. But there's unlimited potential with how it is now.
Click.
Yes. Because right now the product is too
sweet. I mean, you've got the two leading members of the Click running NXT and WWE.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a fantastic time to be a professional wrestling fan. There's been lots of ups and downs, but right now we're on an up, and I'm going to enjoy it as much as I can.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's our top 10 for Surprise Rumble entrants. Like we just said before, if you have a top 10, or if you have a different top 10 to what we have, let us know in the comments. Let us know on our social media. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear your input. We want to hear what you guys have to say. So go comment. Go put anything you want on our social media.
Well, not anything you want. Don't be gross.
Yeah, that's true. All right, John, you ready for some reviews?
No.
What?
I was just going to say no. I wanted to see what you were going to do about it. Yeah, of course I'm ready for reviews. What are we here for?
I was about to say, like, don't do that to me. You had me scared for a second.
I mean, we set up the table and everything.
Exactly. I mean, this is what we were supposed to do. Anyway, so high spots this week. There were quite a few good things that I liked about AEW and WWE this week. Of course, probably one of the best, like, funny things that I liked this week was the whole R-Truth package with the Judgment Day.
That's my high spot for the week. 100%. Like I was laughing like a schoolgirl.
Oh, it was so fun. If you hadn't watched it, go back and watch this, because this whole segment that R-Truth is doing with the Judgment Day, R-Truth is a national treasure.
Oh, yeah.
That they need to. I don't think they'll put a title on him at any point. But
no, you don't need to.
Yeah, you don't have to, just because he is such a great comedic character that people just want to see him. They love to see him just bumbling around and causing chaos.
Once again, talk about a character who you think has had a really good career, and after his injury, I mean, he could have come back, he could have not come back, but he's doing some of his best stuff right now in years.
Like, I only watch it because I love to see whenever he makes somebody break. And and most of these guys that are in there right now, it's not that hard, especially Damian Priest and Finn Balor.
Damian Priest can't stay straight for a single segment.
Oh yeah, I think it was a couple weeks ago whenever they were going to have the Miracle on 34th Street fight between him and JD McDonough. R-Truth looks at him and was like, Damian, I know you didn't mean it when you say you don't like me. He goes, I saw it in your eyes. And you see Damian just walk away and just grinning from ear to ear because he knows he can't look at him with a straight face.
Oh, yeah, no.
Finn is just dying laughing.
No, like R-Truth is he's at a different level right now with his comedy, and I have no idea where they're going with it. I honestly don't know if anybody has any idea where they're going with it.
I really don't care, just because I think it's hilarious.
But yeah, I just want it to keep happening.
Yes.
Like I watched the video probably, so I saw it on Raw live, and then I went back and watched the actual video. They posted it on TikTok and YouTube. I watched it like 5 or 6 times the next day. I was dying laughing.
Oh, I love it. I love R-Truth.
So yeah, no, that was absolutely fantastic.
Yes. I'll give a high spot for AEW on this one as well. The 8-man tag match where you had Orange Cassidy and Preston Vance and all the other guys going against Lance Archer and Gates of Agony.
I like the return of Jake the Snake.
Yes.
The random return of Jake the Snake.
Yes. The build that they put during this match with Orange Cassidy attempting a choke slam on these big guys. See, that's what I love about whenever you try and do storytelling during a match. You've got someone that is of the stature of Orange Cassidy trying to do a choke slam on someone like Brian Cage or Lance Archer, and everybody in there knows it's not going to happen.
Hey, the Hurricane did it. Why can't Orange Cassidy?
That's true. If the Hurricane can do it, so can Orange Cassidy. But just the continuous build that they did during this match, it just made me fall in love with storytelling again during matches. And so they did a good job with this match. Now there's some other botches and stuff that we'll get into here in a little bit, but that was probably my favorite highlight from Dynamite from this week. And then you had SmackDown and Collision were pretty good. There were some good moments on SmackDown, but
I mean, I think SmackDown, the promos and stuff were moving the story forward with the Bloodline and getting us to the Royal Rumble match. But truthfully, I mean, SmackDown was kind of I don't know. I didn't really feel like the last 2 weeks of SmackDown. I feel like you could have condensed into 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely.
And it would.
I do have a high spot for SmackDown though. The tag team match with LWO and then Santos Escobar's team.
Okay, so that match was great.
Great, a fantastic match. But yeah, kind of switching gears from that. Now we get into our botches. I had a few. but I'm going to do one from AEW and one from WWE for this week. My one from WWE was I was kind of torn between two because you had Kofi being written off by Ludwig Kaiser.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily know that he's being written off. I think I'm not sure if the Vinci injury was legitimate.
I think it was,
or if it's a work. But whatever they're doing, they're taking it and making a storyline out of it, and they're giving Kaiser some opportunity to have a little bit more screen time as an individual wrestler, which I do think is a good thing. Yeah, I mean, necessarily was it done perfectly? That's debatable. We'll see.
Yeah, but that one and then another botch from WWE was the Austin Theory and Carmelo Hayes botch during their match. I don't know if you saw it, but
no, it was bad.
The landing that Theory took whenever he was trying to do a springboard Spanish fly off of the top rope. I don't encourage you to go back and watch it just because it'll make you cringe so badly. But Yeah, Theory took a hard, nasty bump whenever he came down on top of his head.
Yeah.
And so...
And that's a bump that I think he's done those kind of moves so many times.
Yeah, it was just a mistake either. And that's why we always say, like, one mistake in any move...
And you're in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. So anybody who wants to tell you that wrestling's fake, ask Darren Drozdov. Well, you can't because he's no longer here.
Ask Owen Hart.
Ask guys who've been in the business for years, have had to have hip surgeries and knee surgeries and spinal stenosis,
neck surgeries.
Yeah, ask
everything.
Ask him how fake it is. But at the end of the day, no, yeah, that was that was a nasty looking botch.
Yeah.
I think that he's all right though. I have not seen anything to indicate that there's been significant injury. So that's good.
Right.
I mean, sometimes.
And kudos to the training team at WWE because as soon as the bump happened, the referee immediately goes to Theory and is like, "Nope, we're calling it off.
Yeah.
Get help." You see the X go up by the referee. That's it. And so, kudos to their training staff because now they're as much as they didn't years ago. They're taking a lot more extreme caution with the wrestler's health and concussion protocol, and that's a good thing. So kudos to the training staff and kudos to the medical team with WWE for being on top of that.
Can we talk about my botch?
Yes.
Hangman Page's attempt at a Magnum TA mustache.
Yeah.
It's bothering me.
Oh gosh.
Like does he not realize that it looks like he's got a caterpillar slithering across his face?
I guess not. I guess that's the style nowadays. I guess that's what the kids are doing.
I mean, I love the Magnum TA, but Hangman Page, you are not Magnum TA.
There will never be another Magnum TA.
And so you need to file that thing down and go back to being a well, I can't say it because you're gonna want to censor me, but go back to being the emo cowboy.
There you go.
It wasn't working, but I mean, you're not crapping on great legends. So
exactly. And then I had one botch for AEW on that one. Besides Hangman Page, the failed Code Breaker by Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw that.
Well, under the long stream of botch moves by Chris Jericho over the last year.
Yeah, the botch line assault, the botched everything.
His skills have been declining, and you hate to see it because he's been one of the greatest of all time.
But I think at this point, and I don't know, I can't speak for any other wrestling fans, but I think at this point, it's getting to a point where we are getting not necessarily tired, but we don't really care that much about seeing Chris Jericho.
Well, I don't need a Chris Jericho match. You could still give me Chris Jericho the character. You can give me Chris Jericho as a manager.
Or even Chris Jericho on commentary.
Yeah, Chris Jericho on commentary. Or you know what? Have Chris Jericho be one of your main writers and producers. I think there's a lot of value there, especially considering the fact that the current product in AEW is seriously lacking when it comes to storyline and the ability to get characters over.
Yeah, exactly. But, that's just one of the many things that I wish AEW would do. Another thing I wish that they would do is get the Young Bucks off TV. Or
we haven't seen them for a while. I'd say that wish is so far so good. I have not seen a whole lot of the Young Bucks.
Apparently, we're going to get to see them against Sting and Darby Allin. I hope that's not Sting's last match.
No. Sting's last match is going to be at Revolution.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because if you saw Dynamite this past week, then at the very end, whenever Sting and Darby Allin had their tag team match with Hobbs and Takeshita, the Young Bucks made their appearance and kind of made the hint maybe we wanted to go up against these guys or call our shot against them. So I don't know if that means that that's going to be a tag team match they have on Dynamite or whatever it may be, but I'm
sure it's just a one-off. I'm sure it's just a one-off, and the Young Bucks probably want to have the opportunity to wrestle Sting one last time before he rides off into the sunset. And as a Sting mark for life, I don't really blame him for that one. But as long as they're not carrying the straps, and as long as they're not starting any backstage brawls, that's going to get their moneymaker kicked out of the company. I say go ahead and have your one-off Dynamite match.
We'll see, but like I said, hopefully that's not Sting's last match, but we'll see. Hopefully in the next few weeks or so.
Well, we still don't know who his last match is going to be against or with. We do know it's going to be at Revolution, and I'm it's one of those bittersweet moments. Like I'm counting down the days,
right,
and hoping that he gets the chance to go out the right way and I'm hoping to see guys like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and we know we're gonna have Flair there.
Yeah, Flair will be in his corner for sure.
So the more people that can be involved in this, the better. You've got a lot of guys who have gone out of the business lately, and let's say not the way they wanted to. Like Triple H didn't get to go out the way he's I'm sure he didn't want to go out the way he did. And you've got other guys like Adam Copeland and Daniel Bryan who are they're on a run that they never thought they'd have, and Daniel Bryan said that this might be his last year of professional wrestling. So maybe 2024 is the year of a lot of final chapters. And for those who have done all that work, we say thank you, and we look forward to cheering you one last time.
Absolutely. But anyway, guys, that's our episode for this week. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you guys for watching. Like we said before, we're on social media, so go check us out on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and on YouTube. Also, we want to let you know of some upcoming events that we're going to be at. So we made mention of DCCW Breaking Down the Walls February 10th in McClenny, Florida at the Baker County Fairgrounds. Also, want to reiterate, I know it's a little bit further away, but NWA Hard Times, March 2nd, Dothan, Alabama at the Dothan Civic Center. If you haven't got tickets yet, or if you want to get tickets for it, you can message us on social media or go message our friend Justin Overstreet on Facebook. Get tickets and get information from him and from us as well. But also, I'm going to be making a solo travel this weekend to Southern Wrestling Tradition over in Pavo, Georgia this Saturday at the Pavo Peacock Center. So if you're in the area and you want to meet me, or you want to go and talk wrestling, or you want to talk about the podcast, I'll be there. I'll be wearing the 5-Star Jobber shirt. Can't miss it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I can't go to Pavo. There's a long story. It's kind of like an Ozzy and the Alamo situation, but I can't talk about it. There's an NDA. But
I was about to say, yeah, let's keep that under wraps at this point. But anyway, guys, I'm going to be there this weekend. A lot more events will be announced at some point. Want to thank you guys for all your undying support. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for everything you do for us. But as always, keep it 5 stars.